things like that. If you don't know, it is centered around Colossians 3:23, and it says, whatever you do, work heartily for the Lord and not for man. So that heart, that hustle, that work that is being put in the classroom, on the field, in your life, in your work, it doesn't really matter, is going to be done heartily for the Lord. So if you don't know already, this is a faith-based podcast to connect athletes with their faith and other things about their faith. But first, a little bit about who I am. First and foremost, there's 3 key features of who I am. I'm a believer. I believe in Jesus. I am a Christian. I'm a husband, which comes above everything that's on this earth. My wife, Abby, is great, and I would not know who I am without her. I'm a father as of about 8 months ago, and that has been a journey. We'll probably see some of that in what we talk about. I'm going to try to do this as much as I can, but, like for me, ideas are ideas. Ideas are overrated, but you need to know athletically, really now I'm just a coach. I coach baseball at the middle school that I teach at, so obviously I'm also a teacher, and I do that to the best of my ability as well. Obviously, we're working heartily to the Lord, right? So those are the big things about me when it comes to this podcast. I guess if you really wanted to be more specific, I'm also a former college athlete. That matters less to me in my life now. I'm very far removed from that. But a lot of the experiences that I'll draw on for this podcast, because it is what it is, which we'll talk about in a second, it is going to kind of weigh heavily into it. So that's kind of who I am. Who are you? Who's the audience that I'm looking for here? Something that's burdened my heart, as I have also, I guess another thing about me is that I run the Fellowship for Christian Athletes on my campus as well. Been involved in FCA for a long time. But back to the audience. So hopefully the thing that I am creating this for primarily is student athletes. This could be middle school, kids in my school, high school, kids that I've experienced, kids that I've not experienced, just kind of connecting faith and sport in that way. You don't have to be a believer to listen to this. We're going to talk about sports more broadly as well, probably just me for now. We'll see if anything develops into it. If I had to bet, probably not. So this audience is going to be an audience where you're not required to be a believer. You can show up, you cannot show up. It's whatever you want. But I'm going to put a lot through the faith lens, so if that doesn't appeal to you, you don't have to listen, but I would encourage you to. There's lots of things that we'll talk through and talk about that can be applied broadly if you are not of the faith. So that's the audience. Now let's talk about what this podcast is, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. I want this to be like a pilot. I want this to be short. I want this to be sweet, but I want you to see that faith and sport intersect. Faith in our whole lives intersect because our faith is our life, but we'll pin that for another time. But we're going to intersect faith and sport, whether it be faith in high school sports, high school athletes. It could be like directly in the lives of who you are, what you're looking to be, what you're looking to impart on other people if you're a coach. So it's going to be intersecting faith and sport in that way. We want to look at current sporting events and stories and apply a faith-based lens to that. Or we just look at current stories and talk about them for what they are. I'm excited for episode 1. I've already started mapping it out. It's going to be cool. I think it's going to be something that's very interesting to listen to with different segments, but also mainly just one main thing that we're going to take away from everything, because ultimately, like, that's what I'm here for. I always, in everything that I do, but for this specifically, I also want to keep Christ at the center. I don't want this to be about me. I don't want this to be about any future guest that would come on here, which I'm doubting that it gets to that point. But it's just going to be me for now. But all of this, we keep Christ at the center. And while we love sport and we are interactive in lots of different sports, whether participants or coaches or just observers and fans of sports, what that looks like and things like that will always be filtered back through the gospel. And I guess that's where I'll end, the gospel. For me, and I'll always kind of relate down back to that, the gospel is something that is essential for everything that I do each and every day. Understanding that I am a sinner divided from God, even though he created me to be in perfect union with him. Sin separates me from him. But at the end of the day, even though that is darkness and that is like me not measuring up, which we'll talk about actually in episode 1, I know that someone has been sent for me, and that someone is Jesus Christ. Christ came, he lived a perfect life, and he died a death that I will never be able to die, and he rose again and ascended into heaven so that one day he'll come back. And I have made a decision to follow him all the days of my life and interweave him, not really interweave him into my life, but like make him the priority in my life so that everything else will be in that realm of thinking. So there's that, and I make a decision for that each and every day, just as I hope you will or have and will continue to grow closer to him through listening to this and enjoy this. So that's what the Heart and the Hustle Unplug is going to be like. And again, I'll end with that verse back in Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work heartily for the Lord and not for men. All right, guys. Peace.